The worst criminal aliens will be sent to Guantanamo, according to Trump. During an event in the White House's East Room, President Donald Trump signs the Laken Riley Act and holds the document. Welcome to Wirenet International News. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. The Laken Riley Act was signed into law by President Donald Trump, granting federal authorities the authority to deport illegal immigrants who have been charged with crimes in the United States. In addition, he declared during the event that his government will transfer the worst criminal aliens to a prison facility in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The bipartisan act, which was the first law passed during Trump's second term, was named in honor of Riley, a nursing student from Georgia who was 22 years old before the president declared, "We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal aliens threatening the American people." Trump signed a presidential memorandum on Guantanamo, the White House reported shortly after. Trump, who described Guantanamo as a tough place to get out of, stated during the signing ceremony that the action instantly doubles U.S. holding prison capacities. About the enlarged detention centers, new Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem later told reporters outside the White House that, "We're building it out," and that the government will look for funds through spending bills that Congress is expected to examine. Tom Homan, the administration's border czar, stated that Guantanamo might get the worst of the worst, and that U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement would oversee the facility in Cuba. However, Trump's planned specifics were not immediately apparent. Detainees from the U.S. War on Terrorism have been held at the U.S. military facility for many years. However, officials have also held migrants at sea at the Migrant Operations Center on Guantanamo, a facility that the United States has long leased. For over a century, the U.S. has leased territory from Cuba for Guantanamo. Cuba usually refuses the modest U.S. rent payments and is against the lease. Trump's desire to send immigrants to the island is an act of brutality, according to Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel. Rodriguez argued in a post on X that the U.S. government's choice to hold migrants at the Guantanamo naval base, in an enclave where it established torture and indefinite detention centers, demonstrates contempt for the human condition and international law. In 2008, the Supreme Court decided that enemy detainees in the War on Terror who were detained at the military prison at Guantanamo without being charged might file a civil lawsuit to contest their imprisonment. However, it was not decided by the justices whether the president had the authority to detain people at all. The Democratic administrations of Joe Biden and Barack Obama attempted to lower the number of terrorism detainees detained at Guantanamo before Trump's election. In February 2024, José Antonio Ibarra, a Venezuelan national who was in the country illegally, assassinated Laken Riley while she was out for a run. In November, Ibarra was convicted and given a life sentence without the possibility of release. Ibarra was freed to continue his case in immigration court after being apprehended for unlawful entry in September 2022 close to El Paso, Texas. According to federal authorities, he was freed after being taken into custody by New York police in August 2023 on suspicion of endangering children. He also received a penalty for shoplifting in Georgia in October 2023, according to the police. With some Democratic backing, the measure swiftly passed the newly Republican-controlled Congress despite concerns from proponents of immigrant rights that it may result in mass arrests for offenses as trivial as shoplifting. For conservatives, the quick passage and Trump's signature 9 days after taking office increased the symbolic impact. Critics claim that the policy has exploited a tragedy and has no intention of combating crime or reforming the immigration system, instead potentially causing confusion and brutality. Riley's mother fought back tears as she thanked Trump. She continued, "He promised to protect our borders and to never forget Laken, but he hasn't done either of those things." Noem attended the signing ceremony together with a number of prominent Republican politicians and co-sponsor Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. Any immigrant apprehended or charged with crimes like stealing, assaulting a police officer, or offenses that cause harm or death would have to be held in detention by federal authorities under the new rule. The leaders of conservative states might be able to influence Washington's immigration policy by suing the U.S. government for damages resulting from federal immigration choices. The constitutionality of it has been questioned by several. Advocates for immigrants are anticipating widespread detentions. They are able to do more than simply rejoice. Regarding the act's proponents, Noreen Shah, Deputy Director of Government Affairs in the American Civil Liberties Union's Equality Division, stated, "They get to use this for their mass deportation agenda. Mandatorily locked up potentially for years because at some point in their lives, perhaps decades ago, they were accused of nonviolent offenses, according to the ACLU, is a legal possibility?" The International Refugee Assistance Project's Interim Senior Director of Policy, Hannah Flam, claimed that the law infringes on immigrants' fundamental rights by permitting the detention of those who have not been accused of a crime, much less found guilty. For more informed and latest breaking news stories on Wirenet International News, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe.